Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, an inspired conversation space between Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner on the journey of motherhood through the common thread of parenting, relationship, and sexuality as a path to consciousness.
We keep our conversations honest, our experiences real, and our philosophies exploratory. We believe that in order to raise incredible humans, we first have to raise ourselves. We know that in order to rock the family, you've got to nourish the mother. If you are here, you care about paving a path of conscious and intentional motherhood, connected with yourself and your gifts, and also illuminating your children in theirs so we may raise more whole humans who can impact this world in a more humane way.
If you desire to integrate your learnings practically and supportively, head on over to bridgetwood.life or julietenner.love to go deeper. And for all live-streamed pre-release podcasts and all our free content, head over to our free Facebook group, Nourishing the Mother with Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner. We are Julie Tenner and Bridget Wood, and we are so grateful you're here.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner, and today's podcast is softening into your shit show. And we have both had a shit show of a weekend. What was yours?
Oh, mine started on Friday night when I, against my better judgment, took both my children into the city. And I said to my husband beforehand, I said, I don't know if we should take Hugo. I don't know if he's going to be up for it. He's like, no, he'll like it. He'll like it. He hated it. He hated where I took him. You know, like it was.
Where did you go?
There was this thing at Sydney My Music Bowl. It's part of this festival.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, the light eco system or something. Yeah.
It was just, like almost kind of a visual display. And I mean, parts of it was so cool. Like I would have loved to be there with like you or some, the friends, the adults that I was with. But like Sylvie spent most of it on my back because she was so tired. She couldn't walk anymore. And Hugo was just like, we had all these conversations about mud throwing. He's like, I don't care. I know I'm doing it. It's just because I feel crap. So he was upset because the friends that we were with weren't his friends from school. And we were in Melbourne City and we weren't at the football. Yeah. So like just nothing could go right for him. Yeah. And he was very stuck in the sludge. So that was just a bit of a shit show. And then that carried on yesterday during the day. And he was trying so hard, like kids. And I guess this is the beginning of like the tween and the teen stuff where he just was this oscillating between, I'm good to in a puddle of tears on the floor or like throwing stuff, right? Like he's just in this like really tricky space. And so it's happening in the middle of Pearl's birthday party yesterday when like, the kids are playing a magic show and he's wanting to interrupt their magic show to tell them it's all made up, right? So I'm like got one foot in this like, yes, my 3-year-old is like loving herself sick and my 9-year-old is like really in like the depths of Shitsville right now. And just that like mothering both and seeing the value of leaning in and mothering both. Mm. So yeah, that was like kind of my experience of the shit show. And I think we'll kind of take the points that we drive home, we'll talk about, talk in many ways to how I carried myself through that. But what about your shit show, Jules?
Oh, look, my weekends are actually hell. Like they're 1,000 times worse than my weekdays. So even though our weekdays are full on, our weekends are freaking manic. So I kind of dread my weekends most weekends. They're not.
Which is so funny, right? Because most people are like, yeah, weekend.
God, no. You ask any mother that's in my zone with kids doing all the fucking shit and working and they're all like, oh God, weekends. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah, and I mean, particularly like if you're a newer listener, like you've got kids.
You think and look, there's no way I could possibly tell you because I 100% can put myself in your camp and be like, I was so sure it could not get more consuming than having a baby who was continuously on you like Velcro and needed everything from you all the time. And I was 100% sure it could not get more intense than that.
And then I had a couple of kids and I was attachment parenting and doing all of the things. And I was 100% sure I couldn't get any more intense than that. And then I just had preschoolers who had no care. And so I was 100% sure I couldn't get any more intense than that. And I hate to be that fucking asshole that's like, oh, love, you've got no idea. But oh, love, you have no idea.
Wait till you have teenagers.
Oh my God.
Hormones and jobs.
It just changes form.
Yeah.
So do I have more downtime by virtue of the fact that I have kids who can get themselves water and understand the world a bit better, and, you know, I'm not scared about them running out on the road and they don't need my breasts? Yeah, totally. And 100% that makes life easier because I have my own body.
Yeah.
But it is so intense in so many other ways. And particularly if you have a top value in parenting, I smile sweetly now to the mums who are like, you know, I'm just not ready for, you know, sport and to give up my weekends. And I'm like, sure. But what happens is it creeps up on you. I didn't start out going, I'm going to be the mum who's like so like taxi mum everywhere. I just went, I want my child to have the fullest life with as many opportunities to delve into their top values as they can have. And so you just end up doing more.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so creative. Let's put you in the art class where you can be led by a teacher who really lets you immerse in that. Oh, I noticed that you have this, you know, spatial awareness thing. Let's put you in the whatever class that helps you do that. Oh, you want to go do footy? Yeah, of course you do. Let's let you do that. Oh, you want to go do karate? Yeah, of course, let's let you do that. And it creeps up on you because you just want them to expand until your life is so fucking full. And you might have all of it. Oh, that's never going to be me. Righto.
Talk to me in 3 or 5 years.
Yeah. It's just the intensity and the pace is really full on. So our weekends are not weekends. They're like manic. That's why Nick and I date during the week, because it's actually more stable than our weekends.
Yeah.
Which are totally unpredictable and full on. So anyway, today was just a nightmare. My son Heath, who's 16, has just having what I'm calling a dig deep year. He's having to dig really fucking deep this year within himself and to mine the fucking gold out of he's digging. It's just like ridiculous. So, you know, I think we all have dig deep years, and I have been having this, you know, illumination or rumination within myself is there's dig deep years and there's, you know, harvesting years and there's just staying where you are years, and the dig deep years are fucking brutal. So Heath is having a dig deep year, which when your child is going through a dig deep year, it's really hard to be with because you have this child that you just so want to be everything that keeps them happy and alive and new to this world, and watching your own child disintegrate their identity and the dreams that they've had since they were this star-eyed 4-year-old crush before them as they realize the world is like, it's fucking brutal.
Yeah. God, I can imagine.
Really, it's brutal.
Yeah, because also because of the entanglement between us mothers and children, part of their crushing of their identity is naturally going to have some collateral like impact on you because you've been such a participant in the creation of that identity.
Right. Exactly. Totally. So he's having this massive dig deep year where he is learning all the hard lessons in one fucking year. And it is just one lesson after another, after another, after another. And it is just on a parenting level, really fucking brutal. And particularly when they're 16-year-olds, and I'm so acutely aware, which maybe is a disservice to me, of the level of pain and suffering that exists post-COVID in teenagers. So I certainly have a very visceral awareness of children whom have intense experiences now coming out of 2 years, particularly in Melbourne, of like lockdown.
Yeah.
And so suicidal tendencies, making choices that are just in the moment and yet have lifelong consequences, pregnancies, drugs, risk taking, like all the
and
fucking
you're
shit.
seeing this.
All of it. I see all of it.
Yeah.
Because not only am I, coaching people who are in it, but I'm also friends with women whose children are experiencing it.
Mm.
So it is visceral. I have a visceral awareness, which overlays onto my parenting value of like, fuck, you better get this right because this could be the moment.
Yeah.
And I had a child last year who super struggled with anxiety, and it was at an absolute peak, and we had to change her world, and she dipped into depression for a while. So I have this lens, which doesn't always do me service, I don't think. Anyway, so Heath had another dig deep lesson this week, and I knew something was up with him. And this is the beauty of being home after school. I love picking them up from school and having the touch point and where you going, where you at, and just being around. And he is not still a great communicator. He's so like his dad and super fucking dense. And I'm like, I know something's up with you. And I kept checking in with him and checking in with him and checking in with him. No, wouldn't tell me. So gets to today. So of course it's built up for like 4 days now. It gets to today and it's a fucking shit show now. So now I'm like picking the pieces up at the same time as he's disintegrating. And because he's a 16-year-old boy, he's in this phase of like, stone walls and gets super fucking dense and then wants to fight you and then wants to be in tears and then wants to pretend there isn't tears. And like, it is just like, it is so messy. So when he goes into a hole, it is on a parenting level fucking intense. Like I know I'm in for a day. Yeah. It's a whole day for me.
Yeah.
Because I have to do this dance with him. Hold my energy bubble, keep it clean, because that's what's most important. Dip into him, dip out, dip into him, dip out, dip into him. Like it is an all-day dance before we get him back out of it. So,
which is so hard, especially because you'll also be meeting your own triggers in that. So like there's all the work.
And it's not just me, it's Nick. Nick gets fucking triggered as fuck with him. And because he's such a mirror. And Nick was like, I could hear him, and Nick's like, I've had to walk away many times. I'm like, okay, let me take over. So we have a stag team. So we're having a day like that with Heath, and he's learning big lessons, and, we're talking about him. And I finally think I'm getting somewhere in the end, because he doesn't want to admit that he has anxiety. And yet I know he has anxiety. And his panacea to anxiety is, well, I'll just screen over it.
Yeah. Yeah. Easy one.
So, right?
So you're pulling the plug.
So it was just I don't want to pull the plug either, because it's such a tricky, how do I maintain relationship and honor his values? And anyway, this is not the point of this podcast.
It's not, but
and another time.
But I can totally see that there's a part of you that naturally goes, well, I want to take that mask off, so I'll pull the plug. But ultimately then that's going to put another wall up.
Right. Well. Right. And at the end of the day, I have to have an eye on the prize of what is my end goal here.
Yeah.
My end goal is to maintain relationship with my child and develop a wholesome human who can navigate themselves. So having domination over his life choices doesn't align with that for me.
No.
So the harder path actually is in how to be with him in this space and empower him to make his life choices and me to step back from that and trust him. It's harder.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's really fucking hard when you're hitting BCE. And even though I know it actually means nothing about your whole life, there's still part of you that it means something about your whole life.
Yeah. When you're deep, when you're in it, it does, right? Like when you're living it.
So, we're having one of those days with Heath. So it's been fucking brutal morning. I also had my niece and nephew over for a sleepover. So, and they wanted to make poffertjes, which are a pain in the ass. And I said yes. And then they fucked it up. And then, anyway, so I had that. I had a sleepover with the fuck up I didn't want to have to deal with. Now I'm cleaning up and sorting out. Now I'm making, crepes for everybody because the poffertjes didn't fucking work. Then Heath's having his situation, which now is dragging out into what would normally be our family time. And Jade's a little bit sick and she's tired and nobody wants to do their chores because they're tired. And now we're talking about family contributions. And then Gwen's losing her fucking shit because she's 4, and that's what you do every 5 fucking seconds when you're there. If your world is not exactly as you wanted, it's why is my world not as I exactly wanted to be? And then I've got Lola, who really is just a walking shit show most of the time. So it's just like ridiculous. And my day just doesn't, I keep going, okay, I'm just going to go. Okay, change of plans. We've got Heath. I've got him sorted. I actually ended up doing Buteyko breathing with Heath. So I gave him several options on regulating his body to work with his anxiety. I gave him 4 different breaths. And I said, which is the one you want to choose? And he chose Buteyko breathing, which I thought was so ironic because it was the breath that I learned from my dad sitting with my dad.
Wow.
I know, right? So I was even like, I gave him 4 options and that was the one he chose. So I was like, it's so weird. So then, to his credit, he sat with me and he did Buteyko breathing, which I tried to get into his value system by saying this is essentially the basis of all breath work and all meditation and, you know, Wim Hof breathing and, you know, Iceman stuff and all that thing, you know. So then he was like in on it. So I got him sorted and then he was going to go and do what he needed to do. So then I'm back, right, okay, let's go do the shopping. We'll get the kids sushi. Nick's like, I think you're getting hangry. And I get a little bit terrifying when I'm hungry and I haven't eaten. Go get some sushi like this. They fucked up my sushi order. So I only realised when I sat down at the table with the girls and Lola's like, and they gave us two dishes instead of I needed 3 dishes to be able to have separate plates for the 2 girls. So now I'm negotiating the shit show as Gwen's screaming in the restaurant and Lola's unhappy and they're tussling between the 2. And I'm like, for God's sake. So I'm negotiating that. Then Lola goes, but I didn't have my sushi. And I'm like, fuck. I'm going up to the sushi lady and it's like, she's filled with people. And I'm like, did you charge me the sushi that I didn't get? What is happening right now? Get the sushi, get them sorted. And Gwen's crying. I'm thinking, well, this didn't work. We'll go do something else. We'll go get coffee and a juice. There's no tables. That doesn't work. So now there's a shit show. We get back home. It's all right. We'll take the dogs for a walk. We'll go to the dog beach. Zeke's fucking toddler nutcase today for some reason. And he runs up to this Rottweiler who bites him and lock jaws onto him and he's yelping and I'm running and the owner can't unlock jaw this dog. And I'm like thinking, what? Like it was just like my nervous system fucking fried today, just for dog lovers out there. In the end, his fluff saved him. So he has a super long coat. And this dog had a muzzle on and had locked onto his fluff.
Thank God for that.
Right. So it was pulling his hair out, actually didn't hit his skin. So he was saved by his fluff. So Zeke shall never have a short coat ever.
The precautionary fluff.
So we got back from this and I said to Nick, okay, all right, hang on a minute. We just need to get home. We're going to keep dinner easy. We've got to get Jade to work. I need a fucking wine. That's it. I don't even care that right now I'm resorting to wine. Give me the fucking wine. That's where I'm at. And Gwen's like, I want to pour you wine. I'm like, fucking fine. I got another glass.
My 4-year-old will pour my wine.
I know. So she's up there pouring my wine. And it's like this jug of a wine. I was like, thank you very much. That's exactly what I want. I'm not pouring that back into the bottle. And I said to Nick, okay, he needs to hit some shit. Can you just go take him to the golf, you know,
driving range,
whatever you call the thing where you just hit balls off of the thing, can you just go, please find a place, go hit some balls with him? I will put the girls on screen, we'll get them something easy, we'll drop Jade at work, I've got a podcast, let's just be done with this day. And he's like, we're going to see you again. I'm like, I don't even know. So it has been a shit show of a day. My nervous system has been fucking fried. So let's talk about this. What do we want to do when we're here? How do we soften into our shit show? Because it would be very easy to be like, life's fucked, I'm fucked, fuck this.
Yeah, it's all too hard.
Yeah.
Crawl into a cave, make everybody wrong, cry, scream, all of the above.
Yeah. So what we have here is 3 easy steps that we would love you to consider and that both of us have used in our weekend that has ultimately been a shit show.
This podcast is brought to you by the offers we currently have on In Our World. So over at bridgetwood.life, you can find out more about the Reimagining Motherhood membership. It's the place where conscious parenting and the whole woman collide to empower you in motherhood. And you, Jules?
Over at julietenner.love is the online couples workshop experience. It's 12 dates that you join from the comfort of your bedroom or lounge room, cameras off, guided by me over a 12-month experience. So one date at the beginning of each month that inspires the support and the change that you can create in the rest of your month. So it's a set it and forget it healthcare system for your relationship. You can find out more at julietenner.love.
Number one is, what is my fantasy?
Yeah, so what is my fantasy? So this was a big one that I think is great for us to have on hand. And we can see this play out with our kids. So a perfect example was my fantasy that I was looking at with my son. Was, first of all, my fantasy was my kids are going to love this. Everyone's going to get along. They're not going to be tired. Everyone's going to have a fun time at the party in Melbourne City. You know, they're going to appreciate me taking this time out for them, or they're going to center their sister for her party and not think about themselves. No, like not realistic, driven by a fantasy. And even thinking about fantasies in terms of our children, like my son's fantasy on that Friday night was him being there in this place with his good friends. And as soon as you wish something was different to the way it is, you're immediately making a comparison. So he was living this for me because he was angry and sullen, totally like blowing off these other friends who previously he's had a great time with, all because they weren't how he wanted it to be. It wasn't what he had decided was the best for him. So nothing else is good enough. And so in that projection onto his evening of how he thinks it should have been, nothing else could be good enough because he's running this fantasy. And there's so much pain in that because it takes you out of being able to make the best of where you are. And it puts you out of appreciation of the relationships that are already here for you. And it just makes you have a really fucking shit time. Like, pick your area of life. If we're in this one-sided view of it needs to be this way, or this shouldn't be happening, or I needed this to be, you know, XYZ for me to be okay, then that's exhausting, depressing, all of the above. So, you know, if I had latched on at Pearl's party with, you know, needing Hugo to be respectful or put aside his feelings for his sister or not make a fuss or be emotional, you know, in front of our guests, because I have some fantasy about my children being these perfectly behaved little angels, then I then don't get to experience her party because I'm so running in my head about how I think it should be instead of sinking into, this is how it is. This is our reality. How can I move with this reality? How can I go between sitting on the floor in the kitchen behind the island bench with my 9-year-old cradled in my arms and then move back to my 3-year-old and her having a great time? Can they both be okay? Can they both exist here? Can they both be beautiful?
It's such a polarity, isn't it?
It is. It is. And yet I think the more that we can be with that polarity, the more power we actually have in our world to enjoy our life, right? And drive our life and accept, you know, the truth of our reality in this moment. So that's what I would say.
Shame. Do you feel social shame when Hugo's like that at your daughter's party?
No. No, I checked in with that, and I could feel like I could feel how it could be there, but I didn't yesterday. No, because I could see. I don't know. I'm pretty like strong in my value of like recognizing that feelings are feelings and they need a place to go. And I'm willing to sit here with my kid like upset with his head in my lap and him not have to go and hide that. Because I'm like, changing our generational imprint, which means that that gets to be at this party too. That feeling gets to be here as well. It's no better for my child to be joyful than it is for my child to be sad right now.
No, I just love that so much.
Yeah. But I mean, maybe when he was young, okay, maybe I could have struggled with that. Maybe when he was younger. I mean, I definitely have to work that edge as he gets older. And I remember like to center him and like remember, oh, you know, he's going through a developmental shift now, or oh, he's grappling with something, and not make it like my narrative, which might be he's being disrespectful, or, you know, insert social conditioning, insert unaware judgment, right? Like that still is in my brain, but it's like notice that and then decide what to do next.
I love it so much. So what we're asking or inviting you into here is to soften into your shit show, is to get really clear on what is my fantasy. Just to look at it, just to be aware of it. Not because we're even asking you to do anything with it, but just be aware that your reality is falling short because of the expectation that the fantasy is built. So the expectation and the fantasy is the problem versus that there's anything that's a problem in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just look at it and then find the love right now. So see how this serves your values right now. See how this is beautiful or could be beautiful right now. Find the beauty. Look for it consciously right now. What is beautiful about my child right now? Can I love their skin? Can I love their hair? Can I love the way their body shakes as they're crying? Can I love their passion? Like, what can you love right now? And can you let yourself just move a little deeper into that? Because love exists here in this moment. Like with Heath this morning, as Nick is, you know, exacerbated, and I know I'm taking over and potentially not getting anywhere, I could have given up.
Yeah.
I could have kept looking for the love and meeting from that point, meeting from love, meeting from love, meeting from love, until eventually he goes, okay, I'm ready to do Buteyko breathing for you. Well, he'll now have that skill for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
That's worth 1,000-fold in my world than had I come down with a sledgehammer on something.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is when we come down with a sledgehammer, like that's our trigger. That's our like, well, this can't be here. Right. I will not tolerate this.
Yeah.
Which I get, right? Like I get it. And like I certainly hit those times sometimes, but it's like, okay, well, how can I work with this? If I'm like centering relationship is super important to me, then that can't exist as my MO.
Totally. Step number 2, our invitation to you is to just let it go. And I say just, knowing that asking you to let go of attachment is not easy.
No.
It's actually the hardest thing you'll ever do. But practice just letting it go. It doesn't matter. We can be here. All that I'm grieving in this moment is my fantasy future, or the way that I perceived this thing would roll or be or exist. And my pain and my suffering is in letting go of that future. It's not in the moment.
Yeah. That's such a good reminder. So say that again. So my pain and my suffering is in letting go of this future.
Well, it's a type of grief, isn't it? Because instantaneously in that moment, we're grieving what might have been.
Yeah.
So letting it go is allowing yourself to grieve, to say goodbye to allow to leave and leave open a different future. Not the one that you had pre-planned and predestined, which to some extent is fate, not destiny.
Yeah.
So in letting it go, what you're practicing is the art of surrender. How can I find myself in any moment, not conditionally based on a set of circumstances that I required?
Yeah.
So letting it go is just finding you and connecting back to, it's okay for me to grieve what I had in my head. Like, it's okay for that fantasy to be there. It's okay for you to acknowledge it. It's okay for you to say, I'm a little sad and hurting that it's not that. All of that is okay.
Yeah. In fact, it's necessary as a human. That is really normal.
Yeah. But I think what often happens is we can do this and then we're angry that it's not that, and then we guilt ourselves into the fact that we wish it was.
Yeah. Yeah, like almost that we feel guilty because we're still holding on to that.
Yeah, like we never actually allow ourselves the process of forgiveness and grieving.
Yeah.
You can't let something go if you're still attached to it, which you are in either of those previous scenarios. So let yourself forgive yourself for having a fantasy, and let yourself grieve its loss.
Yeah.
And let now be okay. Let it go. Surrender to it. You are vast, vaster than this moment. This human is vast, vaster than this moment. Love is vast, vaster than this moment. How do you trust that more than the finite spectrum that you had decided made it okay? Like that's what surrender is, right? As a spiritual practice. So number 2 is practice letting it go. And number 3 is choose you.
Yeah. And what does that look like? And is that a radical thing to do right now? And can you imprint that choice so that you can come back into yourself in the midst of the shit show? You know, when everything's swirling around you, you know, choosing you might be like the wine jug that Julie poured or that Gwen poured.
It is tonight.
Yeah.
You can't
be like, it might be just like tagging out with your partner and just saying like, I just need some time.
Yeah.
And let go of attachment to how you think that they need to deal with it all as well, so that you can regroup.
Because you don't have anything if you don't have yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, you cannot hold anyone if you can't hold yourself.
No. So you, in actual fact, even though we're saying let go of the narcissistic tendencies to make it all about you, at the same time we're saying, please let this moment be about you. It's both, right? Here's the duality that exists in our world.
Yeah.
Detach, don't make it about you. And at the same time, what do you need to be so full that you're grounded and wholesomely connected to who you are? And are making choices, words, actions, and tone that is in alignment with the truth of who you are, with your soul, not in reaction and not in integrity and alignment with who you are. So the more you can take steps into acting, speaking, saying, being the truest you, the most authentic, the part of you that you are so happy for the world to witness and to know and to feel and to be with, because you know its wholesomeness. That is the truth of you. And if your actions and your words and your tone and your voice are outside of that, then honey, you haven't got you.
Yeah.
And everyone around you is going to be reacting to the degree with which you're wearing those masks, or reacting to the degree with which you are authentic.
And in those reactions, they're reminders that you haven't got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no one more important than you in this moment, at the same time as nothing is about you. I mean, isn't it so wonderfully?
It's so like paradoxical. Let's keep going around in circles in this.
I know. So softening into our shit show looks like, hang on a minute, what's my fantasy? Because I am crushing and crashing right now into an expectation. What is it? Number 2, how can I let it go? And that might include forgiveness for myself for having it, and letting myself grieve the future fantasy that I really wanted and yet I don't have. Letting myself grieve it and feel it in a way that feels beautiful and honoring, so that I can find the love that's present right now in this moment. And how do I choose me? What do I need to be the most wholesome, alive, authentic, showing up, ready for the world to witness me? What do I need to get there? Because unless I'm there, I don't have this life or anyone that's in it. So what do you need to be there? Actually, what I need is being able to go, okay, that whole shit show has happened. Everyone's got a place to be right now. And where I want to be is podcasting with Bridget, because it lights my heart on fire. We have conversations that open my soul and my heart. And when my soul and my heart flow, I go, oh, fuck, I feel better. I can deal more. Yeah. This is like capacity is an illusion.
Oh, I love that, because it's like the moment that you're kind of closing, it's like, okay, that's actually the invitation to find what you need to get you to choose you again.
Right. This is not about escaping from my shit show.
Mm.
This is about, right, the most authentic and alive version of me. This is on the way to it.
Mm.
So how do I sort everybody out with the best of my capacity at this moment so I can find myself here, and then I will return with a bigger capacity.
Yeah.
And work can totally be on the way to that.
Yeah.
I think you can judge it. But what I want to say is, if it is in alignment with your soul, it will be part of it.
Yeah, totally.
Is there anything you want to add from steps? What's the fancy let it go or choose you from your shit show?
No, I just love it all.
Mm.
Yeah. Nothing that I would add right now.
Magic.
I think it's really important that we also keep it clear and tangible, and you have. So that's what I would say.
Perfect. What's happening in your world, Bridget? How can we join you?
I have a couple left of one-to-one availabilities for the next 3 months. So I'm just wrapping up a 12-month container at the moment, and I'm opening up some 3-month ones. So if you are interested in doing some work around your parenting or yourself and your identity or your relationship, then I really invite you to see if that's something that you are wanting to do with me. So you can hop on my website and find out more at bridgetwood.life.
And what would we, hang on a minute, what would he bring to you with coaching?
So you'd be bringing to me like your kind of mess, I suppose. When you listen to these podcasts and you're like, oh, I kind of get it, but like, what about it in terms of my life, and how do I make it work, and how do I see beyond my own stuff? Because this is the whole thing. Like, we can hear these concepts and we can get them on kind of some intellectual level, but then we're like, yeah, but I can't see the wood from the trees in my own world. Mm-hmm. And that is what I do. I help you see that.
Magic.
Yeah. So
because real change is in integration, right? It's
yeah.
Not just gaining more knowledge in the brain.
No. That's almost like, that can sometimes be an addiction itself. It's just like, I'll just learn more.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. It's got to be put into practice to be tangible and transformative.
100%. So we can find out more at bridgetwood.life.
Yes. And you, Jules?
So this is your last chance to get into my 12 months of couples dates. So it's 1 date a month. It's a date activity. You pick a date night. You can join me live, or you can hit play on the replay. It's exactly the same experience. And I have an hour and a half of facilitation where you are understanding a concept and then doing it. Here's an activity, go. 30 seconds, go. Here's an activity, 90 seconds, go. And I'm setting you up for a date, an hour and a half of activities that bring you closer in connection, intimacy, and allow you to explore outside of the lines and the confines of your current reality and relationship. So you can find out more at julietenner.love.
I'm so excited for it to start. So if you want to connect with us, go to nourishingthemother.com.au. Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
Thank you so much for listening. We literally couldn't do this without you. Please share this podcast with anyone you think it would be medicine for.
If you desire to integrate your learnings practically and supportively into your life, then head on over to bridgetwood.life or julietenner.love to go deeper.
And if you feel like giving back a little to this free content, please rate us on iTunes or Facebook, all of which helps the podcast reach more mamas who need this type of tonic for the soul.